All right, on this episode of Bowks Talking Bouts, happy to be speaking with an individual ahead of quite the showcase, one of the more high-profile Canadian heavyweight bouts I've seen in a while, a champ vs. champ showdown, BFL 67. We've got the Battlefield Fight League champ Caio Machado defending against Unified MMA titleist Christian Larsen, and that goes down on June 5th via UFC Fight Pass, and welcoming Christian on the show for the first time. How's your day going so far there, man?
Good, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, great to be able to talk to you, man. I'm just kind of curious off the bat here because I'd seen some interviews. I mean, February 2020 was when I was peeping that. You were saying you were 2 weeks on, 1 week off with the oil fields there, but we're looking to make that full-time MMA transition by summer 2020. I'm kind of curious if the pandemic kind of like threw off those plans a bit. Were you able to, transition into a more full-time MMA thing, or not so much?
No, not so much. My last fight got canceled literally the day before weigh-ins there when Alberta started to ban gatherings in March of 2020. So that was that really kiboshed that plan. Luckily, I've still been working oil fields and essential service for infrastructure. So I've been keeping busy, but just not in the fight game.
Yeah, and I remember that whole Unified card, just how close it was to happening, and then super last minute. Like, it seemed like you were obviously understandably disappointed at the time it went down. Like, do you still have the same kind of sentiment with it, or has the sentiment maybe changed a bit at this point?
You know what, how it's turned out to be for everybody, I think missing out on a fight, really, that's the least of my concerns comparatively. Like, I had no idea that things were going to be going on as long as they were, and I was frustrated at the time, but I mean, now it's going on a year and a half, and people are losing their businesses and their homes, and in comparison, missing out on a fight wasn't that big a deal.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, I understand how you felt in the moment, everything like that. I mean, you're putting in all this work in the training camp, and then just in such short, close proximity, that happens. But, I mean, a very measured, mature response with all of that. And, it ended up working out, too. I mean, you get a fight now, so, I mean, long-term it paid off, I guess.
Yeah, lucked out here, and, it's a good time with for me to fight in the summer when the rigs are kind of slowing down. It's easy to take time off and things like that. So I'm off, took a month off for my training camp here, and I've been keeping busy on my days off as much as I can, so worked out well.
Yeah, I think for me it's refreshing to hear a composed, measured take on the whole pandemic. I mean, it seems to it's something that gets some people fired up a little bit.
Yeah, it brings out the extremes, it seems, from some people, but I mean, it is what it is. Everybody's hurting, everybody's suffering, so I can't. My heart goes out to everybody that's a lot more affected than I am. I've been pretty fortunate, so.
Yeah, well, that's a good way to be looking at it. I feel the same in my kind of situation too. But, getting in that great work at Shaved Bears and stuff like that over the years, I'm kind of wondering like how the training dynamics have been going on there, just with the pandemic going on. Maybe you have to have certain amounts of people in the gym at given times. Like, has the methodology switched a great deal?
Well, yeah, we got to adhere to all the city and the provincial mandates. The Shaved Bears out in Sherwood Park, so there's been a little bit of more leeway. But I mean, when the gyms are closed, the gyms are closed, and we're kind of making do. I've been running a lot of stairs and doing my conditioning outside as much as I can, and stuff like that. So we had a little bit of leeway, when we were doing the one-on-one sessions and stuff like that. When those were allowed, we could get in the gym and get some work in. But it's hit or miss every week what we're going to be allowed to do. So just trying to make the best of it and get work in where we can.
Yeah, that was kind of the sentiment I got from Tanner Boser. I actually talked to him the other day there, and he was kind of talking a bit about that there. I'm kind of wondering for you, though, because it seems like you have a great kinship with Tanner Boser there and everything like that. Like, how important is it training with an individual like that for just, honing and developing your own skills there?
Oh, it's great. And I mean, it's not just Tanner. We've got a whole room full of guys that have been accomplished in the sport. So I'm really, it's just, you're a product of the environment. You can't put anybody in a room with these guys. If they're able to put in the work, they're gonna find a lot of success. So I lucked out with that. Tanner's great. I've lived with him, I've worked with him, I've trained with him. And he's got the best work ethic out of anybody I know. So you can't really, can't get away with slacking off when the guy beside you is killing himself every day. So it really pushes you to go that extra mile, which I appreciate.
Oh yeah, his work ethic is unassailably solid for sure. But I mean, you definitely touched on a great point in saying that the entirety of the Shaved Bears camp is just exemplary. I mean, and I wanted to touch on that Unified MMA 38 event whereby, KB Buller, Graham Park, and yourself all minted yourselves as Unified MMA champions. Like, I'm kind of wondering how that dynamic feels, like in the sense of like the residual momentum from seeing your, teammates triumph and stuff like that. Like, I imagine that was a banner night for the gym.
Oh yeah, that was huge. And the other part about that is all three of us were fighting for belts that had been abdicated by our two teammates, Tanner and Teddy. So we all kind of looked at it like a title defense, like we were fighting to keep the belts in the gym. So it was a big deal for all of us for sure. And yeah, that night couldn't have gone any better. I'm pretty sure I think we actually had a clean sweep because we had a couple of other fighters on the card that night, and Shaved Bears, I think we went 7-0 that night, which was just unreal. So yeah, that was huge. That was huge for the gym and obviously huge for each one of us individually. But
that's a cool team-spirited kind of mentality in the sense of, like you were saying, you looked at it as more of a defense of the title than I'm looking to vie for this individual reign myself. So that's a cool thing to hear, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm this gym and our team and our coaches. They put in a huge amount of work for us. Like, both of our coaches have full-time jobs. Like all of our coaches do, and they're volunteering their time after hours to come in and train us and stuff like that. There's definitely a family mentality here, and especially when it comes to the gym and keeping things, keeping the championships and stuff like that. You don't want to let anybody down. So it was good. Things worked out how they did.
Yeah, absolutely. And it just seems like there's been a lot of pronounced leaps in your game on a fight-to-fight basis, like in the sense of you were a Canadian national champion wrestler, and then just really finding the big power in your hands as time goes on and stuff like that. Like that Lee Meehan fight you had there, I think those might have been the loudest punches I've ever heard in a live fighting context.
Yeah, man, Lee looked great in that fight. That was a good one, man. He rocked me a bunch. A lot of good pictures of Lee in that fight. I don't know what Gudar, the photographer for Unified, I think he's got a crush on Lee because the whole photo album is Lee just looking awesome.
I'll have to double check that photo album. There wasn't as many Christian Larsen thrown down kind of pictures in there.
No, just all Lee punching me in the face. In Gudar's defense, that was pretty much the entirety of the first round. So.
Yeah, but fighting a veteran opponent and weathering the storm and stuff like that, and then also later on in your career avenging the Jared Kilkenny loss and everything like that. So it really seems like you're able to make those adjustments and adapt in a pretty thoughtful way. Like, how important is that to the development and just, bolstering the confidence, just being able to learn from those kind of things?
Yeah, man, those were really a lot of important fights. The loss to Kilkenny, beating Lee, and then going right into the quick win over Tyler King. I think those three fights I definitely changed me the most as far as confidence in the ring and experience. So I think I've definitely improved a lot because of those three fights in particular. And then the avenging that loss to Kilkenny was a huge deal for me as well. That was really a can't lose situation, man. If losing twice to Kilkenny and losing my shot at the belt, that would have definitely kind of put my career in a different trajectory for sure. So that was a big win for me.
Yeah, well, certainly trending in a very upward direction at this point, just with the next one being on UFC Fight Pass and just fighting someone that has been also getting a certain level of attention among the Canadian heavyweights. Like, what are your thoughts on Caio Machado and what he's been able to do so far in his output as a fighter?
I'm not taking anything away from the guy. I haven't seen too much of him. Like I obviously I watched his most recent one with Lee here.
Yeah.
And he looked good. You know, he's got fights against Joinson and Dogie and stuff like that. But again, they're guys that I've never fought against any of these guys, so I don't really know too much about him. You know, he looked good against Lee. I think he gets hit a lot. He's got a good chin. He kind of just laughs it off when he gets hit. But I'm sure he's going to adjust for this fight here in June, because I don't think he's going to be laughing off too many of my punches. But I think he's good. He's champ. I think he's 4-1. So not taking anything away from the guy, but yeah, I haven't seen a whole lot of him.
Yeah, I'm curious, is that a byproduct of, like, maybe, I guess, allocating the tape study to guys like Jeff Montemurro and things like that, or you just don't generally watch tape on the fights individually? Like, where does that come from?
Personally, I don't. I've got a striking coach who typically, I'll send him whatever tape I can find on the guy, and he'll kind of break it apart and come back to me with some things to work on. But yeah, man, I might make a little bit of adjustments and kind of watch for stuff, but my game doesn't really change a whole lot. I'm just going to go in there and do my thing, and typically that's been enough.
Well, I mean, that's fair though, man. I mean, certain fighters tailor their methodology to just like focusing on honing their own individual skill set, and then maybe the tape study more so something the coaches are doing, and that seems to be working for you so far. I mean, the proof is in the resume there. Yeah. Well,
here's hoping that it continues.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've mentioned a couple times already that this is going to be on UFC Fight Pass. I'm kind of wondering, are you a guy that is mindful of the different platforms you perform on? Is it kind of like almost an inconsequential thing? Like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like, because I know it varies sometimes from fighter to fighter in that regard. So, like, what are your thoughts on that dynamic there?
As for the fight, like, it's not really a concern for me. I do appreciate, Unified just signed with UFC Fight Pass as well, BFL.
Yep.
I think Unified's going to have their first fight here in a month or two, and it's good. What's good for the promotions, good for the fighters, so to speak. So I'm glad that they got this contract. It's more exposure, a little bit more money for them, and in turn a little bit more money for us. So that's a good thing. As for affecting the fight, it doesn't affect the fight for me whatsoever. It doesn't really matter if I'm fighting in front of a crowd or a stadium or whatever. You still got a job to do.
Yeah, exactly. Just focusing on getting out there and doing what you need to do. But earlier I did mention the dynamic and the kinship with Tanner Boser, and I'd seen a past interview where you kind of playfully referred to him as your doorman over at Diamonds there. Like, do you guys have any fun Diamond stories there? Because I think I even have a bit of a story there with Tanner Boser. Like, I came there one time and I was just like, oh damn, Tanner's here.
I don't know how many of the Diamonds
yeah, fair.
appropriate to be repeated.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's how I met Tanner. I was working there with him for, it must have been 3 years. And that kind of started me off in the fight game. So yeah, there's a lot of stories. If I run into you after the fights, we'll have some beer and drink a few, but I'll tell you all about it, but maybe not in public.
Yeah, I feel like the Diamond stories are some off-the-record ones. I can kind of feel that for sure.
Yeah, and I don't know how much of that stuff I can go public with.
No, that keeps it fun though, man. But I'm kind of wondering with the dynamics in the gym as far as like the music playlists. Like, are you kind of an individual who's down for whatever's in the background, like whoever grabs the aux cord, put on whatever, or are there certain artists and genres that you're fired up to train to and things of that nature?
You know what? Honestly, for training, I don't listen to music. especially working out and stuff like that. I find it distracting. Before and after and stuff like that. Yeah, like, you know, classic rock gets me. Johnny Cash gets me. Walked out a bunch to Johnny Cash.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's great. But yeah, during the workout, I can't stand it, man. If I'm in the gym, I can't have headphones. I can't have music. I just find it kind of throws me off. So.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. You're just focusing on the task at hand. Because I know some fighters are also even mindful of replicating the conditions of the fight night because you don't have tunes going in the background for it.
Yeah, but if you were asking what music gets a rise out of me, it would be classic rock for sure.
There's a lot of fire ups there, man. I'm definitely, rolling with that as well. Definitely tunes I like jamming to there. But you've been really good with your time, man. It's been fun to get some insights from you ahead of, such a big fight here. But just in being mindful of your time, I'm curious if there's maybe anything you'd like to sort of add as a parting thought as we're wrapping up here, man.
No, man, just, appreciate the opportunity. I'm glad that BFL is able to put some fights on with everything that's going on. Hopefully we get through this and we can get back to normal and get back to fighting a little bit more often.
Yeah, and I'm noticing you have the late May birthday there, so I'm hoping that, things can pan out in a certain regard for you, just in the context of getting the, ideal birthday wish there solidified and stuff like that.
There you are, man. Maybe I'll blow out some candles and everything will go back to normal.
But great getting some time ahead of such a big fight here. That's going to be the main event of BFL 67. Caio Machado and Christian Larsen going at it. And yeah, just really appreciate getting to talk to you, man. It was a fun interview. Hopefully the first of many. You enjoy the rest of your day.
Sounds good, man. Thanks for having me.